Good afternoon. This is Scarlet coming to you from a Zoom call. Today's guest is someone I've been looking forward to interviewing, as he's not only an extremely strong Pokemon VGC player, but he's also responsible for the trivia sections we have had on the Paradox Arena Instagram page, as well as almost every poster we've had advertising our events in 2023. Let's give a big hello to Victor Rocha, aka Rotovic. Firstly, Vic, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you very much. All right, for starters, let's ask the big question. How did you discover Pokemon, and how do you discover the franchise?
All right, so the first time I ever even heard of Pokemon, right, was I had my good cousin, right? He was playing this one time. I was like, "What is that?" He said, "Oh yeah, Pokemon." It was love at first sight. He was playing Pokemon Platinum on his DS. I saw Gyarados surf a Graveler, and I fell in love, right? That immediately that Christmas. Not really. After that, I started watching the show, the Pokemon Black and White series, and I fell in love with it. And that very Christmas, I got my first Pokemon game, which was Pokemon Black, and the rest is history.
All right, I think you're the first person I've met to actually have good memories of the Black. But fast forward to a bit. What are your thoughts on Scarlet and Violet, and what about them truly impressed you?
Well, it's been a year since it came out, and honestly, I think my only real issue with Scarlet and Violet was the way that it came out, right? It's no secret that Scarlet and Violet were not the best games, right, on release. They're very buggy, they're very glitchy. However, after a year playing them, I have nothing but love for them. I definitely fell in love with the story, the characters, the competitive scene is amazing, the terrestrializing, a lot of phenomenal Pokemon. To mention a few, King Gambit, Armrouge, Iron Hands. There's a lot to love, and I think that is very... I think that's what people should expect from this series. Just the games aren't great quality-wise, but they're phenomenal and they're super fun, and I think that's what really pulls people at the end of the day.
Nice. You mentioned terrestrialization. What are your thoughts on it, and how does it stack up to previous mechanics such as Mega?
All right, so this is going to be a bit of a controversial fight. I think it's going to be a bit of a controversial opinion. Personally, I started VGC playing the Dynamax format, right? And I recognized that Dynamax, as nostalgic as I am for it, even though it's been like 2 years, it was not good. It was not healthy, not at all. I think terrestrialization is by far the most balanced. I think, in my opinion, I'd be willing to put it as the best one. I think Dynamax was very centralizing, but not as centralizing as, in my opinion, maybe the third best one, which would be Mega Evolutions. And I know that's a very controversial opinion. I think the fact that as much as I love Mega Pokemon, right? Personal favorite Mega Charizard Y. As much as I love these guys, the whole mechanic being limited to like 30 Pokemon, it's not something I'm a big fan of. I love being able to take random Pokemon and just making them work. Really taking out their potential using these mechanics, right? And Z moves, yeah, we got
Right, interesting. So that being said, you've been talking about the VGC a lot. We know that you've been involved in Pokemon VGC community, messing with decks for quite a while. How did that happen?
Well, I think the same way as a lot of people got into it these past few years. You're playing and you start playing with friends and you realize, hey, I'm kind of bad at the game, right? You start looking up strategies and whatnot, and you realize, or at least I discovered competitive Pokemon through singles, right? So I played OU and all that jazz, and then I start looking at, what's this guy Wolfie, he's doing 2v2. I'm like, okay, that sounds complicated. I start seeing World Championship stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I started VGC during the pandemic, as as I'm sure a lot of people did. And I actually fell in love with it when I saw that one of my favorite Pokemon from that generation, which was Colossal, had a very dumb strategy revolving around it. So I saw it and I was like, man, I want to try this, right? So I did, and it's been a blast since.
See. Now, that being said, what are your thoughts on Pokemon Showdown, and how useful do you think it is for VGC?
Oh, absolutely. I think Pokemon Showdown is a phenomenal tool, right? I think it's instrumental in the preparation and simply practicing and trying out. I think it's a phenomenal tool. It allows you to really explore, right? It allows you to use your creativity and try out things that maybe you wouldn't if you had to, for instance, make an entire team in game, because we all know that's very time consuming. We all know that's very tedious. It's a very tedious process. It takes a lot of time. But Pokemon Showdown, it allows you to practice far quicker, right? If you have an idea, if you want to use physical Belly Drum Charizard, right? You don't have to sit down and read that physical Belly Drum Charizard. You can just try it out, and if it works, phenomenal, right? Go have fun. And if it doesn't work, it's fine. How much time did you invest? 2 minutes, maybe, right? And I think it's amazing, and I cannot wait for Mr. Pikachu to make an actual official battle simulator on the Switch.
So is there any Pokemon coming in the Indigo Disc DLC that you're particularly excited about?
Oh yes. Yes. Now I'm not. I don't remember the entire list of Pokemon, of course, but there is a single Pokemon that I am very, very excited about, and that would be my girl Whimsicott. Right. So Whimsicott is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's one of my girlfriend's favorite Pokemon. It has a lot. It is phenomenal. First off, it's adorable, right? Secondly, it has. Any prankster Pokemon is going to be amazing, but when you have a combination of a fairy type, which is a phenomenal type, right? Prankster plus Tailwind. Right now I'm blanking on a lot of moves, but Tailwind, Helping Hand, Fake Tears with potential Fluttermanes or potential Goldengos, even Chiyus if you want to do overkill, right? There's Sunny Day support for all the paradoxes. There's I'm even thinking some stuff like, oh yeah, you know what? Screw it. Prankster Charm. Get rid of all Dozos, right? Get Moonblast. You get Energy Ball for Urshifu. You have a lot of options, and it sounds like it's gonna be a blast. I used it in Sword and Shield, and it was absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to try it out this gen, especially with Overcloak. It's gonna be awesome.
All right, now considering that we've asked quite a few players this question before, how crazy is it going to get when it's...
Oh my god. All right, well, I'm sure I just had the same reaction as a lot of players, right? Incineroar is I don't want to say centralizing Pokemon, because I don't think Incineroar is broken. I think Incineroar is kind of the Band-Aid that you add to a format, right? For instance, if Iron Hands, for instance, right now, I think it's around 30 to 40% of usage, right? As soon as Incineroar drops, that's going to balance a lot of things out, right? That's going to help a lot against the Overpod matchups. It's going to help a lot against Iron Hands. A lot of physical attackers, Roaring Moon. You could say Arcanine, it helps balance out Arcanine and Landorus, even though the matchup is not great. But I think it's definitely one of those Pokemon that it's gonna be amazing against Rillaboom, for instance. It's gonna be a very interesting interaction with Fluttermane. I am very interested in seeing how that works. It's gonna be great against Goldengo, right? So there's a lot of things that Incineroar is gonna be great at. It's also gonna help a lot some Pokemon such as Urshifu, right? However, you also have the fact that Incineroar now can Terrastalize, right? So you have those mind games of, hey, I have my Incineroar, I can Terra Dragon it, or I can Terra Water it, and that can change a lot, right? But am I willing to invest or burn my Terra on that on the supported Pokemon. So those kind of mind games, that kind of thought process is, I think it's what makes it VGC very interesting.
So, on that note, is there any Pokemon in the meta now you think has redefined the whole thing?
Yeah, definitely Fluttermane. I think
we all
Fluttermane
know
is
that.
absolutely phenomenal Pokemon. I think it's I don't think it's broken, but it's very centralizing, right? You cannot have a team that doesn't have a way of dealing with Fluttermane. Have that be through, for instance, Trick Room, spamming physical attackers, right? Having Tailwind, having Pokemon such as Scarf Landorus or Scarf Urchifu, even having your own Fluttermane, right? Because what's the best way to deal with Fluttermane? Have another Fluttermane, you know? That being said, I don't think it's broken. I think right now we're in a pretty healthy metagame. If you sit down and look at a lot of the recent tournament results, you're actually seeing a lot of variety in the meta, not only with having a lot of Pokemon, right, but also special attackers, right? There's a lot of Goldengo, even though Fluttermane is very powerful, as we all know. There's a lot of Goldengo. There's a lot of the genies. There's including the within the genies, right? There's Thunderous Tyrion, which is very surprising. I did not expect that guy, but like, he's here. Ursaluna, all that jazz. Like, there's a lot of variety. So I wouldn't say it's busted, but it's definitely something to keep in mind when you're team
Switching
building.
gears to Pokemon trivia, I honestly am rather curious. What made you come up with the idea?
There's a lot of things that probably influenced it. I think mainly, I simply have, as someone who's been playing the game for so long, as a lot of people have been, right? You have a lot of useless information in your head, right? So you need an outlet to put all that, right? Between that and I think my passion for just trivia games, right? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, to mention a few. There's another one that I'm missing right now. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great idea, and I'd love to see a lot more of it in the future, right? Maybe having like a game show or something, like a bunch of competitive players or something. I think that'd be great.
Would you like to see like an in-person trivia night for Pokemon specifically?
Not specifically, but yeah, I think that'd be great. I think any event that allows people to come together and socialize and make friends, having that love for Pokemon be the kind of what brings us together. I think that's great, and especially if it's not as limiting as something like a VGC tournament, which, as we all know, it's not easy, right? So something like that, I think it's great.
Now, do you see yourself playing any other Pokemon games, like, say, for instance, Unite, Pokken, or the TCG?
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say I've definitely did my toes into a lot of those. Pokemon is a very wide franchise, and I think it has something for everyone. I think games like Pokken, games like Pokemon Unite are very different from VGC, right? It's a completely different mindset. There's team games. There are real life life. Is that how you say it? Life reactions. Yeah, like stuff like fighting games. I think it's a completely different skill set. I have tried the TCG, right? I think it's the barrier of entry is very high, right? But I think if I were to go into any of those, I think it'd be probably either Pokken or TCG. I think those two would be very interesting.
Right? Now, alright, there's one thing that we've said at the start of all of this, is that you designed the posters that we have used, Pokemon events, on Pokemon. What's your thought process when designing the poster?
Yeah, so what's my thought process? I think, well, as a kid, I was always very into, I guess, watching YouTube videos and stuff, and I was always fascinated by thumbnails. So whenever I want to design something, I want it to be attractive. I want to say, hey, look at me, right? And I think a way that a lot of that happens is just smack something big, right? Smack something attractive, right? For instance, if it's a competitive Pokemon tournament, right? Don't say, oh, competitive Pokemon. No, say like, boom, Chempao, or boom, I don't know, Roaring Moon, or boom, Fluttermane, right? Something attractive, or boom, Landers, or Shifu, right? Something that a competitive Pokemon person really just sees and they're like, oh shit, that's what's going on, right? And yeah, I think it's a lot of that, and I like trying out things. I like going through a few posters, right? Or a few ideas. I usually go and make maybe 2 or 3 posters, and then I think, okay, which do I like best? This one? Go for it.
Right. Is there any particular poster that you've designed that you're particularly proud of?
I have designed a lot of posters. I think my first Crimson Clash poster, the one with the one on the time machine with the, I believe it was Iron Valiant and Roaring Moon. I think I'm very happy with the how that one turned out. I think other than that, not particularly Pokemon, but there was this Smash Bros. I believe Street Fighter tournament poster which I made for FSU.
Oh yeah, that
Mintman. I was very happy with how that one turned out. It took a very long time because I couldn't really get it to work in a way that I liked it, but at the end I really liked the result. Very proud of it.
All right, so one thing that we noticed is that there are a few friendly rivalries within the Pokemon. Would you say that you have someone that you consider a friendly rival?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's part of the game, right? There's no Red without Blue. There's no Ash without Gary. I think rivalries are something that really helps you go further beyond, right? Really test your limits, and I think that's great in any competitive scene. As for competitive players here in Panama that I have a bit of a rivalry with, I definitely have a few, right? For instance, Eric Cordiz, right? I believe we fought maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's been very close all 3 times, right? There's Joshua, which also we keep going back and forth. I believe he was on the show, or will be in the show. I don't know.
It's on it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think definitely one of the people that actually introduced me to the Pokemon community for the longest time was, and also has been, kind of a final boss / rival is definitely Alberto Rios. My first few tournaments, I would always go in super excited. I go in round 1, round 2, right? I'm doing great. Boom, Alberto Rios. I get 0-2'd. I get annihilated. It's horrendous, right? But no, it's definitely a rivalry, and I think you would consider me a rival as well, because I think those players are really important because they show you, hey, you gotta put in the work, man. You gotta put in the work. You gotta keep trying, and when you beat them, beautiful.
But anyway, to wrap this up, I'm gonna name 10 Pokemon for you, and you're gonna tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. All right, so Indeedee.
Beautiful, adorable, love it. My baby. Wide damage, click buttons, win games.
All right. Iron Hands.
Blue. If your team is missing that juice, if it's struggling with a few matchups, throw in an Iron Hands, it'll fix everything. Trust me.
All right. Haxorus.
Power. I have not used it in competitive, I do have to admit, but man, in black and white, you Dragon Dance, you Outrage, everything's going down, man. That's amazing.
All right. Great Tusk.
You're gonna kill me for this one. Armored food, right? Game, what is it? Series 2. I think at that point, it was Talonflame Great Tusk. Oh my god. Seeing the Great Tusk, they just go Terra Grass, Expanding Force, always KO'd. Always KO'd. It was beautiful. Both Pokemon go down? Oh my god. Amazing. I love it.
Alright. Let's see. Lucario.
Lucario. Oh, you're also going to kill me for this one. I think Lucario is probably the most overrated Pokemon. Don't get me wrong. I like it. I love it. Lucario in Brawl is super fun. I had a Lucario in BDSP. Really fun. And the Mega is overkill. But I don't know about it, Chief.
Alright. What about Greninja?
Oh my god. Yeah, no. Everything I've said about Lucario times 10. I'm sorry, I'm a man of my chest pins. I'm a chestnut believer, but I've got friends that are like #1 Greninja fans. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I respect it, I just don't see it. Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo is probably one of the biggest victims of power creep. The fact that you go from being one of the most powerful legendaries and then immediately fall into obscurity. Like, I think outside of, if it weren't for the side games, right? Stuff like Pokken or Pokemon Masters, I think Mewtwo. It's iconic.
Right?
I think that's definitely iconic.
What about Charizard?
I think Charizard is definitely iconic, definitely classic. A lot of people think it's overrated. I'd have to agree to some extent. That being said, I think Charizard is it's a great design. It's simple enough to be, attractive, right? It's not over-designed, but it definitely has enough features so that any grandma on the street can say, oh yeah, that's Charizard, right? Great Pokemon. Especially Charizard. Why? Awesome.
All right. And now for the final Pokemon, and I was going to ask you about this. I am really interested to see what you say about this one. Dragonite.
Oh my god. Where do I start, man? Where do I start, man? It's beautiful. I think. Here, I'll tell it to you this way, right? Think of every pseudo legendary that has come out, right? You have Tyranitar,
Okay.
right? You got Mega and Paradox. You got Salamence, Mega, Paradox. You got Metagross, that's a Paradox. You got Garchomp, that's a Metagross, that's a Mega. Garchomp, that's a Mega. Hydreigon, that's a Paradox.
Udra.
Gudra, that's a Hisuian form. And then after that, they're very recent. But notice a pattern. You never see Dragonite, right? They haven't given this thing anything since Generation 5 when they gave it multi-scale. Alright? And it's not that they forgot about Dragonite, right? This thing's amazing. I think Dragonite, and watch the Gen 10 immediately get Dragonite form. I think Dragonite is the perfect Pokemon. And I think they know it. Dragonite, it's adorable, it's badass, it's awesome competitively, it's amazing. My only issue with Dragonite is that it's a pain in the butt to get in game. Because by the time you get a Dragonite, game's almost over, right? My only complaint, like this guy right here, beautiful. I love him so.
Alrighty then, Vic, I gotta say, thank you for your time and basically everything you've done for the arena. I'm really grateful for all the times you've provided help with promotion, every idea you provided, and helping me come up with one of my favorite VGC games of all time in Jersey Shore. Like seriously,
Pleasure,
Jersey
man,
Shore. I'm sorry, what was that?
The very funky.
Alright, well then, this is Shark signing off. Hold on while I finish the recording.